the fourth industrial revolution. So I'll be using the PowerPoint of the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines. Okay, so Industry 4.0. This is characterized by new technologies, fusing the physical, digital, and biological worlds. Wow, so you see the combination, okay, such as robotics, big data, analytics, AI, cognitive technologies, quantum computing, IoT, all of these. Have you ever, your smartphones, they have an AI. Have you ever talked to your AI? For me, I always talk to Siri, and I notice a very big difference from the initial Siri from the today's Siri. Okay, Siri before, when you make a conversation, sometimes she cannot understand what I am saying. Okay? Maybe there are some mispronunciations, but now Siri is, I don't know. It has already, it's a very good perception on sounds, that they can recognize already words that people are saying. She could even answer very well. Try it. Okay? Play around with your AI and you will be impressed at what they can do. Yun, ibig sabihin, Industry 4.0. So under this, companies now will look for personnel with critical thinking and collaboration skills, collaborative skills. Because gone are the days that you have solo inventors, right? Now it's really a collaborative effort. Yeah, two heads are better than one. Five brains working together are better than one brain. Okay. So what will be decreasing by then? People expect now that AI might be part of the board of directors by 2026. Biro nyo? Grabe. AI will be part of the board of directors. Hirap yan. Well, for one, that this is one good development if you're talking about technology. But on the other aspect, on the humanistic side, syempre parang may principle of double effect dito. Anyway, that is where we're going, I guess. Uh, there's no stopping it. So, the demand by 2022, this is just a few years, 1 year from now. Analytical thinking and innovation, yeah. Active learning and learning strategies, creativity, originality, and initiative. Initiative. Kaya ngayon mga students now are very good in different applications. Sometimes with my students, I ask them to make an infographic material, and they have several applications that they can use. At ang gaganda ng mga gawa nila. Grabe. Sabi ko, wow. Ako nga medyo hirap ako sa mga applications. Ito pa lang sa online mga video platforms. It's a bit of a struggle, pero sila, wow, they're very fast. Initiative, originality, creativity is already there. Technology, design, and programming. Senior high school. Ang gagaling na mag-programming. Sa matanong panahon namin, flow charting lang naalala ko. Critical thinking and analysis, complex problem solving, leadership, social influence. Okay? Meron ka rin EQ, emotional intelligence. Actually, meron na nga digital quotient, di ba? DQ na ngayon. Reasoning, problem solving, and ideation, system analysis. Grabe, di ba? Okay. So what will be declining by 2022? Yan, manual dexterity, endurance, and precision. Where do we see that? We see that already in the tollways. Automated na. You just have your RFID. Siya na bahala. Siya na magbabawas ng cost doon. Okay? Automatic. You just have to load your toll. Just pay it and then automatic. Nawala na yung teller dyan. See? Memory, verbal, auditory, and spatial abilities. Because it should be a given na. You go at, they are looking for a higher level of thinking skill. Yeah, management of financial and material resources. Being more economical in this day and age. Technology installation and maintenance. pati mag-install ng hardware, kahit papaano marunong ka. Diba? Reading, writing, math, and active listening, di ba wala na eh. Pabawas na yan. Kasi it's a given eh. Dapat you should know that already. Management of personnel, yeah, okay, fine. Okay, quality control, okay. So these will be declining by 2022. So, according to Passbook, okay, to develop innovation capital, universities should revitalize intellectual production alongside with these priorities. So as you can see, you have a human capital there, you have a structural capital here, and a relation capital. Okay, so in a nutshell, human capital, of course, quality of university faculty who are good in research and teaching competencies. Okay, quality of university administrators. So this would be they are suggested to be more open to technologies. Okay, cross-disciplinary programs. Diba? Parang dapat combination na like biotechnology. Diba? Something like that. Like co-cross na bioengineering. Right? Hindi na yung BS Biology, BS Chemistry, mga solid na linear. Ito kailangan cross-disciplinary. Okay. Industry Academy Program. So dito papasok din yung mga alumni natin. The alumni could help in the academy into bridging theory from practice. Dito papasok yung IP sa structural capital. Okay. So you can see there incentives that foster research and innovation. Yeah. Faculty incentives. Okay. TBIs, technology-based incubators. Okay. Yeah, patents, copyrights, use of IPs for utilization. Okay. Some people don't like commercialization. They would rather use utilization. It's fine. It's just a terminological or it's just a matter of semantics. Okay. Then relational capital. Okay, so these are all. Oh, so what are now the functions of universities? So of course, R&D and innovation in universities are essential. Okay? The universities act as essential agents for economic growth now at present. So this was part of my thesis during my Master of Law in Turin. Now, the university before has an institutional purpose. What does that mean? Yeah, purely educational and research, okay, and community development. Yes, extension. Okay, but now if they added something, a society-focused purpose. And what is this society-focused purpose? Ito na. Pumasok na yung fourth function of a university. What is the usual three? Yeah, teaching, vocational, right? R&D, community development, and the last one is enterprise. Right? Enterprise. So, how can we harness? How can we harness innovations in the universities? Of course, you would have mechanisms, okay, to enhance R&D. One, you have, of course, your academic programs with thesis requirements. Yeah, that is one way. Second, you can have presence of research centers, particularly to have warm bodies there with a specific research agenda that depends on the expertise of the faculty, expertise of the person. Okay, you have your university statutes, policies, rules, regulations. Yeah, okay, promotion, incentives. Yeah, and of course publications. Okay. Most of us are still in tune with publications. Nothing wrong with that. Okay? Nothing wrong with that. Now, this is the IP life cycle. Since you learned already about IP, so it just goes round and around. Okay? So if we're going to make this linear, so it would look like this. Okay? So of course, it starts from R&D. Okay? And then if there's something there, we're talking about inventions, patents, if it passes the patentability criteria, novelty, inventive step, industrial application, then we can apply and protect it. Okay. After that, we monitor that, and then we push it out. Okay. That's what we call technology transfer. We push it out to industry. Okay. So that the public may benefit from it. Right. That's why we're doing R&D, so that we to make our lives better. So after looking for a possible company to license or having a startup, maybe, then we further protect and assert that IP. Okay? Then afterwards, of course, we should not rest on our laurels. Okay? You have to innovate. Okay? Of course, we have a dictum that there is no perfect invention. You have to improve on it. Okay? And that goes back to R&D. Kaya tinawag na research and development. You further improve it. And it goes another cycle. Okay? So what is now the role of universities and research institutes? Well, we are the primary generators of IP. Why is that so? We have the manpower, we have the personnel, we have the faculty, we have the scientists. Okay? We have masterate, we have doctoral faculties who are experts in their field. We have facilities, good facilities for R&D. See? So research, scientists, academics. So our creations and inventions can be protected by several IPs. Okay? So your Center for Intellectual Property can determine that. Okay? You can also protect it through trademark, okay, for products or services that you have crafted, or copyright over written and creative works. Okay. Now this one is a very good quote from my friend Thomas Edison. Okay. To invent, you need a good imagination, a pile of junk. See? So this will now lead to technology transfer. Yeah, it's good to know about we are making something, okay, to improve how we live, how we play, okay, how we work. But it's important also to push that technology out, okay, so that it will be for public good. Yeah. So from university research, okay, we create something and we put some value to it. We look at the market whether it is acceptable by the public. Okay, okay, that is where value extraction, and then we have now value recognition. Right. So in a nutshell, ganito rin yan. R&D, then if it passes the patentability requirement, then we can apply for a patent. Okay? And then you can go on two avenues. It can either be looking for an industry partner for licensing, or you can create a startup, a new company. And this is where commercialization or utilization now comes in. Okay? Now, this is the TISCs. What are the TISCs? The TISCs are the Technology and Innovation Support Centers. In the Philippines, these are also synonymous to what we call the ITSO, Innovation and Technology Support Office, okay, which is also similar to what you have. The Center for Intellectual Property is the same thing. We do the same job. Iba lang yung tawag. Okay? So in the YPOS initiative, okay, these are your TISCs. Okay? These TISCs provide innovators, okay, with access to locally based high-quality technology information and related services. So we act originally as patent libraries. Patent libraries would mean access to patent information. Okay? So we empower faculty members not only to look at non-patent literature, meaning at journals, right? Everybody knows how to search for peer-reviewed journals using either Scopus, Web of Science, EBSCO-host, okay? But you must also look at the patent documents. That is where the TISCs now will come in. So that you will be able, from the ideation pa lang, you would know that what you're doing is a technical solution to a technical problem. Okay? Not a solution looking for a problem. Mahirap yan. Okay? I have had my fair share of inventions that, okay, are solutions looking for a problem. Okay? So what was the situation prior to the establishment of the ITSO? Well, universities before were publish or perish. If you don't publish, it's either your tenureship will be on the line. Okay? There was lack of knowledge and understanding about the IP system. Yeah, yeah, we're also guilty of that. There's an absence of an IP policy. Awareness of patent and patent information is very low. Yes. That's why students often come to me and say, Sir, sabi ng panel namin, may gumawa na nung project namin. Tatanong ko, nag-search pa kayo sa patent literature? Ay, meron ba nun? This point in time, 80% of technologies are not found, okay, in peer-reviewed journals, but they are found in patent documents. Why are they not found in peer-reviewed journals? Well, it's because of the first criteria of a patent, novelty. Because if you publish before you file for a patent, that destroys novelty. Okay. Competencies in patent searching. Yeah, see, patent searching and prosecution are generally lacking in the science and technology community. Access to patent information are scarce, and before was very expensive. But nowadays, your CIP can do that already. Okay. There was also no institutionalized mechanism, okay, to assist innovators in promoting and protecting technological inventions or innovations. Okay. Wala mga pag-advise eh. So minsan kung saan sa pupunta yung mga faculty namin before. Ngayon, dahil may ITSO na, o meron nang pwedeng magbigay ng sound advice. Okay. Lack of appreciation among universities and RDIs on the relevance of patent information in their search for R&D work. Yan na nga, looking a technical solution to a technical problem. Okay? The importance of protection to utilize the work outputs. And there was always a weak link between universities and industry. Yeah, meron naman talaga yan when we're still working at that. Now, there was a study in 2010 which was not updated, wherein they looked at the possible publications in the different fields of study and compared whether they would be eligible for a patent. And they found out that in the agricultural sector, 28% of the 390 publications were patentable. Kaso lang sayang, again, because they were published, novelty was destroyed. O medical, 22% could have been patented. Electrical, the engineering and mechanical. Mas marami sa mechanical. Kaso na 6 publications na nakita lang nila. Anyway, what does this tell us? This tells us that universities are still in the publication mode. Again, there's no problem with that. You can go and publish. Yes. Well, that is ethical. Yes. So that people will know what would be the benefit of your study. Yes, that's fine. Okay. But what we're asking here, that is, if there is something there, at least you disclose at an early point in time to your CIP, so that they can see whether there is something that can be protected there, not only copyright. Okay, because the CIP could have an eye for something. It might be patent eligible. Example. So do patents mean a business success? Of course not. Okay? A patent or an IP is just a bullet. Okay? It's a means, it's not an end. Okay? For example, here, we define what is invention and what is innovation. An invention is creating something new. Yeah, inventive something. Eureka factor. Wow. Okay? Innovation is putting an invention to practical use. Okay, take a look at this example. Here, this is what we call, for me, these are not so good patents. Take a look at this patent. This person is turning something in order to hurt himself. Ba naman yan? What kind of patent is that? Will that be used by the public? Is that for public good? Another, a mascot suit was patented. We, I don't see any use of this except, of course, if you're in the food industry. Okay? Or take a look, it's a toe mascot or it's a toe character here. Ito matindi. And what this is? This one is a spider ladder. See? The itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. So gumawa siya ng ladder kasi nadudulas na yung spider. Oh, ano ba naman yun? A spider can climb up any contraption without any ladder at all. So see, these are what I call nuisance patents. Wala lang, parang ang tawag dyan, mema. Mema sabi lang, oh, something like that. O MEPA, MEMA patent lang. But take a look at this one. This one is a very neat innovation. You know the tissue paper? Yeah, the tissue roll. The invention here is not the tissue roll, but the perforation right there. Okay, the dotted. Yan. Have you ever went in a restroom or a toilet wherein the tissue, yung roll na walang perforation, yung hila ka lang na hila? Di ba nakakainis? Aside from your wasting toilet paper, okay, you're also what they call this, not helping the environment. Pero ito, this person invented that perforation para isa-isang square lang ang putol mo. Hindi lang isa-isa, pwede dalawa. The point here is that mabilis kang magputol ng tissue paper. See? This one is more useful. Putting an invention to practical use. A technical solution to a technical problem. Okay. So the ITSO were launched in March 22, 2012. So we were one of the first of those, and including is the second speaker, okay, Ms. Ana Ramos, who is a very close colleague of mine. Okay. So we were inducted because these are the patent agents, okay, who are authorized to draft patent specifications. Okay. So we are the ISOs. Okay? We are found in schools and universities. They are also found in RDIs. For your institution, the CIP, that is your intellectual property office. Okay. So what are the other government's initiative? Well, IPOFIL has the ITSOs. The DOST has some of their programs to develop the innovation capital, okay, of the Philippines by creating what we call your technology business incubators. Yeah. And of course, we have the other legislation, particularly the Technology Transfer Act, such that if a government funds a research, okay, to a university, the IP will belong not to the government funding agency, but to the university. It is biased to the university, provided that the university would file and protect it. Okay? Pag hindi na na-protect, then babalik sa government funding agency. Then you've all heard the Innovative Startup Act, which supports, okay, micro and small medium enterprises, particularly for those that are starting a company, spin outs or startups. These are the government initiatives. So, knowing now the role of HEIs, so we are primary generators of IPs. Okay, so therefore, there must be an IP policy and technology transfer procedures should be in place so that it would be a clear and easy to interpret policy. Okay? It's a bit flexible. Okay? This is where rewarding policies will be for inventors and entrepreneurs. Okay? They provide fast and responsive services to faculty and students, hopefully, in supporting the commercialization of their inventions. Okay. Now, let's say I've met researchers who don't like commercialization. Yeah, fine. Let's say we gather 100 researchers in a room. Okay? So this was one story, one quote from one of our mentors. Okay? If we gather all of these researchers in a room, 100 of them, and I will ask a question, which you can also answer in your own minds. Okay? How many of you would like to earn from your R&D project? Maybe 50% would say, yeah, I like. Maybe the other 50% would say, no, that's why we're making R&D for the benefit of the public. It should be free. Yeah, sige. Okay, fine. Let's rephrase the question. How many of you would like to see the product of your R&D being used by the public? Then you have now a different scenario. Almost all maybe would agree that they want to see their product being used by the public, especially if they would be life-saving. Definitely. See, this is technology transfer. This is utilization. Okay, it's not about the finances. It's about that technology. Okay, bring it out, bring it out. Sorry, bring it out for the public's use, looking for an industry partner so that they will be the one to manufacture it so that the public will be able to use it. Okay, daming information ko pasok sa aking tabula rasa. Okay, so the IP office, your IP office, okay, can have the availability of proof of concept for further development of research-based innovation. So the patent search that the CIP can produce is a very good value because they would give you good inputs on how to improve a technology, particularly if there is already a similar product that is already out there. Okay? So some of the questions your CIP should be able to answer. Is your project patentable? Does it fall in patentable subject matter? Is there a market for this invention? This is what we call triage. Okay? So before we file for a patent, we do invention triage, whether it's a go or no go. Okay? So if there's a no go, then we write out an opinion to the inventor and say this is what we found. Of course, kailangan may kalakip na ebidensya yan. Okay? Because we must realize that these inventors, they created a baby. So aalagaan nila yan. Okay? They are very protective to their inventions. Okay? Para anak nila yan. And that's why we should be able to give them the necessary evidences and information so that we'll be able to convince that maybe you should tweak it a bit kasi meron akong nakitang ibang technology that is the same as what you're doing. Okay. Can we find a business entity interested in licensing, developing, or commercializing the technology? Okay. Can we start a new company? Well, of course, that will depend on the triage. Are there available finances to help further develop the inventive technology? Okay. So it's usually a team approach. That's why your CIP has an IP committee for that matter. Because they are the ones who can analyze the marketplace. Okay? Your sister school, yeah, the DLSU, the ITSO of DLSU, yeah, is the director is a good friend of ours, yeah, Attorney Christopher Cruz. Okay? So we're together most of the time during conferences. Okay? Now, this team, your IP, your CIP, can help with a patent application process. They can give you good and sound advice. Sometimes those advices hurt. Okay? Sometimes there's no really sugar coating it. Kahit ako, nahirapan din akong i-explain. But sometimes I think, or I would like to believe that I have mastered the craft. So this team can also assist and identify or finding resources for connecting people, okay, industry partners, or you can go to your alumni office and maybe have a conversation, okay, whether we can help a faculty who has something that who has invented something, okay, help identify to how further develop the technology. Okay, so a viable option is a paradigm shift. And what is that paradigm shift? Of course, not anymore publish or perish. Okay, it should be publish, protect, and profit. Okay, this is from Ipofil. Okay. Pero, syempre, nauna yung publish dun eh. Dapat mauna muna yung protect. Kasi remember, the novelty requirement. Okay, that's why it should be protect, publish, and utilize. Okay, if you're allergic to the word profit, let's go to utilization. So IPs are not worth much unless they are adequately exploited. And exploited here is not a negative word. It means adequately utilized. Okay? So if it's a life-saving device, then why not? So some of the success stories, maybe you know. Yeah, this one, Askoff Lagundi from UP Manila. And it was funded by Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, EOST. Successful, yeah. University of San Carlos, the one that from mango waste, mango pectin. Maraming nagawang products yan, cosmetics. Okay. So ang ganda ng kanilang commercialization ng project nila. They had a spin out, and I think they bought a patch of land and created a plant, okay, in order to get the mango peels and refine it to better products, turning waste into gold. My partner, who will talk later, are one of the more advanced ITSOs. They have several clients, external clients, coming into their office seeking their services. Okay. Iloilo Science and Technology Universities, they are more on the copyrights. Okay. So these are the structural materials. So, of course, the outcomes of this, okay, of your CIP, of course, would be creating a pool of IP experts in order to help your university, maybe drafting, patent drafters, or patent search experts, or if there's still none, then maybe you can outsource them. Okay. Increase IP filings. Okay. Of course, by increasing IP filings, you not only improve the global innovation index of the Philippines, but also you help create jobs in the future. Okay. Now, some issues and concerns. Yeah, it's nice to talk about IP. It's nice to talk about patents, utility models. Yes, but there are nitty-gritty things that must be done. And we have had our fair share of horror stories regarding this one. Of course, you have to have an IP policy. Yep. Policy on ownership and inventorship. Okay. Pwede kasing simula, okay, magkaibigan, but when nandyan na, naka-file na, biglang magka-claim yung isa, uy, dapat kasama ako niya. Hindi, wala ka namang ginawa eh. Nako, that is going to be a very big problem. Kailangan doon pa lang masettle yan. Any dispute in inventorship will invalidate, okay, a filed IP. University research agenda. Yes. So that you'll know where your focus of research would be. Okay? University research agreements, yan. This is part of due diligence. So dapat may kasamang mga memorandum of agreements. Okay, if you have research loads, so kailangan may nakasulat yan. Okay, group of experts in a certain field. Okay, it's because again, it is a collaborative effort. Research incentives, yeah. And then the CIP, you should have an IP disclosure system. Okay, where would the faculty go? Okay, if they have something? Okay? Do you have a form, okay, There should be a form there. Okay? What advice can you give? Yeah. NDA should be there, non-disclosure agreements. If there is, if there is one office that is good at keeping secrets, that should be the CIP. In our case, that would be our ITSO. Of course, the process of determining patentability, novelty, non-obviousnness, and industrial applicability. There should be also a process of triage and IP valuation, so that you'll know, okay, what is the value that you can extract from the created IP from your university. Then if it's okay, meaning it's a viable product, okay, then we go on drafting the patent specifications, then file it. Then you should have a technology transfer policy. Yeah. What is your rule on a faculty being a CEO of a company in a university-based technology? Medyo, yeah, touchy issue yan. So you should have a conflict of interest policy there, a conflict of commitment, okay, that has to be managed. Policy and royalty sharing. Okay, if technology gets licensed, how much would the inventor get? How much will the university get? Okay, and yeah, COI, conflict of interest, and conflict of statements. What would be the choice of transfer? Are you spinning out? Are you starting up? Are you going to licensing, looking for venture capitalists, or are you directly selling the IP? Okay. And then, of course, you should have technology briefs. And what are these technology briefs? These are one pager flyer that is non-technical in character. Laymanized terms, so that anybody, maybe in a casual conversation, you might encounter a CEO of a company that might be, you think, would be interested in one of your faculty's work. You have already a technology brief. Oh, hi, I'm Mike Peralta. I work for the the university, and I move technology forward. I hope you would. I think you would be interested in this, and so on and so forth. Now, you're off in a good start because you have an IP management committee. Yes, that is an important committee. Okay, license agreement templates are there. And of course, a negotiating team. Should the time come that licensing would already be your mode of tech transfer. So, of course, increasing the odds, okay, you should achieve IP nirvana, sabi nila. Okay? So what are these? 7 steps according to this one. Adopt a state of IP mindfulness. This is one way, this webinar. Okay. Take care when publishing inventions, not only publishing in peer-reviewed journals, okay, but also posting. Yan. Isa, may mga na-post nila sa YouTube, okay, kung paano i-assemble. Nako, wala na. Destroy nila sarili nila. So be careful. If you're excited, hold your horses. Use non-disclosure agreements when approaching others. Yeah, if they want to know more about your technology, hold muna. Okay, don't get too excited. Let's sign first a non-disclosure agreement. Whatever we disclose here is only in this room. You cannot use it yet because there's no such thing as licensing yet when we are signing a non-disclosure agreement. File IP applications ASAP, particularly if your triage is favorable. Okay, manage IP ownership. Okay, stay close to the business. If their licensing is already successful, then have good relations with the company. Okay, use IP counsel if necessary. All right. So I guess I hope I've enlightened you about the role of universities in the whole picture of intellectual property. These are my references. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Sir Michael, for that very enlightening presentation. Indeed, our higher education institutions are a minefield of innovations. And that is why we have to be very, very aware of the importance of IP, not only because we want to be able to utilize it, but more because we want to be a very fertile ground for young inventors, young innovators. Because the future of not only our country, but our society, the entire world, depends on innovations. And our young people are so into that, especially now. Even high school students are creating, they are innovating. And when given the right environment and the right support, I am sure that the Filipino youth can really shine and be at the top with all the other um, young people from other countries as well. Tama naman yan, di ba, Sir Michael?
Tama po, ma'am. I totally agree with you. I like your words, minefield.
Yeah. I have a high schooler who is so into creating a lot of things, and one of the things he laments is that there's like uh, not a very commonly known venue in the Philippines where young people like him can really congregate. And I said, you have to look for, I'm sure it's there. I'm sure there are a lot of those places. You just have to keep on looking for it. So I hope that our universities, our higher education institutions like ours, can make that known to all the young people, especially our students as well. Not just our faculty, but also our students.
Yes, true, ma'am.
We're now open for questions. So those who have questions, you can just unmute yourself and ask Sir Michael your questions directly. Or if you want, we can read the questions that you sent to our chat group. So far, what I'm seeing here are really words of gratitude for your presentation, Sir Michael.
Hi. Thank you for those.
Yeah, from Arnie of the Center for Intellectual Property. This is from an anonymous participant, I think, was sent through her. How can you link research in intellectual property, and how can HEIs contribute, and how can administrators in different colleges contribute?
Uh, well, researchers have their own, they have an IP already. Meaning, if it is in a written manuscript, then that can be covered already by copyright, which is protected at the moment of creation. But that can, if that is a device or if that is a process that improves efficiency of making something, okay, then that can fall under patents, which should be filed separately. So how can administrators in different colleges contribute? Well, you can have a research agenda for your faculty. Uh, in my experience, when I did my IP campaigns, uh, some of the faculty had resistance. They would say, "We're doing basic research. So are you telling us that we should go away with basic research and go to applied research?" I told them, "No, that's not the main point. The main point is you can do your basic research fine. That's fine. All I'm just telling you is that when you have something there, just disclose it to us, and that we might be able to see that there might be something in your basic research." So here, the IP office of the university can work together with your researcher. Okay? My, because we might have an eye, actually, we have an eye for what an invention is, okay? Which sometimes they cannot see. And that is where we can help them.
That's right. That's right, sir. I agree with that. I think even Facebook is it's an innovation. It's a process, no? It's but I'm sure there were a lot of basic researches that were used as a foundation for the principles behind the technology.
True.
Psychology, for example, why people congregate, uh, why they target people, why it will be attractive for people to identify a certain group as friends. things like that. So there's really a lot of integration that can happen between basic researches and applied researches.
True.
So there's no such thing as a simple basic research.
Yeah, no such thing.
All right. So, sir, next question. What are the challenges in intellectual property, especially in health education institutions, higher education institutions?
Challenges. Maybe the challenge that I experience is disclosure, because still, even in UST, the disclosure is still very low. Uh, uh, One, there are not so much I believer on what IP is. I get there was one story that I vividly remember. Biglang lumapit sa akin yung researcher, sabi niya, "Sir, nakita ko ang aking product na sa market na binibenta." Naku, kamot na lang. O, ano po ba nangyari? Dinisclose nyo? Did you present it in a conference? Yes, I presented it in a conference. But doesn't that tell the people that I am the one who made it? Well, yes, you told the people that you're the one who discovered it, but someone made it. Someone made it and patented it. It's a first to file rule. Wala, talo tayo doon. And then doon na lang na-realize the importance of the disclosure process. So that is one challenge, disclosure. Because there's the IP office of the university cannot act on just as a simple one pager description of a project. So usually I request for a full manuscript plus accomplished form so that I can be able to assess it better than having conversations with them. That's it.
Okay, thank you, sir. More questions here. What can you suggest to improve IP at the LSMHSI?
Uh, well, of course, one would be create a research agenda that is based on the expertise of your faculty, and then try to look for a problem and solve that existing problem. Karamihan kasi nakikita ko is a solution looking for a problem. It's the researcher who thought that mukhang may problema dito, kaya ito ginawa niya. But in actuality, when I talk to industry, no, that's not our problem. This is our problem. Ang layo ngayon ng disparity. So, well, okay, it might be novel, yes. It might be new, yes. But it's not yet viable at this point in time. A good example, yung itong pandemic, di ba? DOH said that in order for the vaccine to be efficiently inoculated, kailangan yung syringe na gagamitin ay yung very decreased yung space, di ba? Para walang sayang na drop. That syringe, okay? I'm looking actually for a patent that's like that. That syringe is protected, I'm sure. Yun ay ibig natin sabihin. So, that inventor tried to solve the problem of wastage on vaccine inoculation. And that's very brilliant. Sometimes you don't need to be a really hard rock scientist to to make an invention. Well, there are good stories that are accidental in nature. Bigla na lang uh, natabig niya ang isang chemical, biglang nagkaroon ng good concoction and then it was invented. Just look for a solution. Look for a problem and then solve that problem.
Right, sir, no? It's like I'm reminded by a story. It's like the automatically opening and closing doors. Before, people thought it's just a convenience and a luxury. But when the pandemic happened, we realized it's a necessity because that's another way by which we prevent transfer of the virus infections. So this one is related to the question earlier, but more specific, we want to benchmark from UST, like what do you do to improve your IP for health allied professions, such as what we have here: medicine, nursing, medical laboratory science, pharmacy.
what I do is I walk the halls. Okay? So meaning, since I lack disclosures, so I go to their labs. I do visits before the pre-pandemic and just have a conversation with them. Ask them what they're doing, what's your project, and can you tell me what is this all about? Okay. Then nagugulat sila kasi, wow, ba't siya nandito? Wala lang. Wala. Kamusta lang? Ganon. And then if I see something there, then I could already give some suggestion. Ay, baka ito pwede mong gawin. Okay. Then afterwards, meron na akong dalang form. Okay. Once you're done, kindly accomplish this form. Okay. If you have any questions on this form, you can just approach me. So that is one way to reach out. But despite of that, medyo hirap pa rin. Kasi yun nga we need believers. We need believers. Sometimes the converts, okay, become converted because they had a bad experience.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Go ahead, ma'am.
That's right. So again, Miss Mads, now you know. But I'm sure it's a challenge during this
Yes.
during this pandemic, no, to be able to reach out personally to people,
Yeah.
but to to serve this challenge. Um, with so many webinars, they've been hosting a lot of and so the institution is aware of intellectual property team for all of these efforts. So I think one last question, sir. One last question before we let you go. But in terms of IP application to the IPO Philippines, what are the practices of UST or even of dual DLSU? Do you need to require that the applicant be the school for the researchers to claim incentives?
Uh, that depends on the IP policy.
Is it
So
like
both,
in some schools? I'm not sure, Mads, what our guidelines are on this. Do we require that the school be a co-applicant?
I think it depends on the scenario, Ma'am Heidi. It's case-to-case basis.
mm, I suggest that you should have a university policy on that. So that should be clear. Clear cut dapat yan. So sa amin, in our policy, is that if a research is done by a faculty of the university in pursuance with their duties and responsibilities, the IP is owned by the university. However, even though, kasi nagagalit yung mga inventors dito, bakit daw aangkin ng university? Sabi ko, oh, hold your horses. The university owns it, but you will be named as inventors. So in the patent application, ang nakalagay doon sa applicant, that is the university. And then the inventors are the individual faculty who made the device. So that in pursuance, actually that policy is in congruence with the RA 8293, the IP code of the Philippines, wherein the employer, okay, the IP is owned by the employer if it is part of the duties of the employee to do or to invent something, to do research for that matter. So it's the same as with your sister school, De La Salle. Yep.
I think Ma'am Heidi lost her connection.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay. Sige
thank
po.
you, Sir Mike, for that. We have one more question from the chat box. Sir Michael, may we know your email address for a speakership? Wow, that's fast.
Oh, wow. Oh, sure. Sige. Actually, Mads, you can give them
All
my
right.
official USD email address.
Okay, thank you for your permission, Sir Mike. So once again, we would like to thank Associate Professor Michael George Peralta for his wonderful and very animated presentation. Thank you so much, Sir Mike.
Thank you for your attention.
All right, so I guess we could.
Okay, thank you, sir, again.
All right.
Yes.
Ma'am Mads, would you like to share something about that as far
Uh,
as our
all right. So
guideline?
currently, the Center for Intellectual Property, together with the Intellectual Property Committee, is drafted already the intellectual property policy for the institution. So this IP policy can guide all of us, researchers, faculty, administrators, on how we can create more intellectual property, so that it could guide us, let's say, on who will own the copyright, who will own the IP, because these are the common questions that the faculty ask. Kunwari, if I make a module, can it be, is it mine or is it the university? So through that IT policy, kapag na fully review na and approved, it will be disseminated to the whole members of the Lasallian community para mas mag-guide tayo in terms of IP creation. Kasi ang role naman, kung bakit tayo merong IT policy, is to encourage lalo yung mga researchers, faculty, to create more intellectual property, copyrights, inventions, etc. So, hindi natin nililimit sila na sa university lahat. Opposite ang goal natin. Gusto natin, mas lalo tayong mag-create. So, yun lang, ma'am.
Good.
Ma'am Heidi ba? I think to get disconnected again, probably we could proceed to the introduction of the second speaker. But before that, we have a short commercial, a short audiovisual presentation. We'll see Sir Mike again later. All right, so can we now play the short audiovisual presentation?
The Center for Intellectual Property
Can
is
you hear
a
me now?
newly established institutional office of the De La Salle Medical and Health Sciences Institute. In line with the broader institute's goals and plans, the main goals and objectives of CIP are to strengthen and create intellectual property policies and protect the institution's intellectual property, to educate the Lasallian community about intellectual property and other IP-related matters, to encourage and promote creativity and innovation through inventions, research, and generation of new ideas, to assist and support Lasallian community through addressing IP concerns, patent searches, and other IP matters, to identify opportunities from research and inventions that may have social impact to society and to the institution, to network with different universities or organizations with IP centers and the De La Salle Philippines Intellectual Property Commission.
In order to achieve the goals and objectives of the Center for Intellectual Property, we believe in a strong leadership characterized by efficacy, determination, resilience, and persistence, followed by the identification of strengths and weaknesses of the institution's current level of understanding and awareness about intellectual property and innovation in order to analyze and assess the needed steps to boost the generation of new ideas, inventions, and innovation. Then, a deliberate and purposeful implementation of plans and programs that should be carried out in the most efficient and best way possible. Production of transparent, accurate results and outcomes. Mainly, the direction of Center for Intellectual Property revolves around its three core components: education, innovation, and networking.
The CIP offers the following services to the institution: provision of expert advice on intellectual property to DLS and HSI researchers, including faculty, consultants, residents, interns, academic service faculty, non-teaching personnel, and students. Conduct of seminars and training programs about intellectual property and innovation that caters to the Lasallian community. Assistance in examining patents and protection, analyzing invention disclosures, and investigating infringements on patents and other intellectual property. Assistance in identification and evaluation of ideas, innovations, and inventions developed through DLS and HSI research. Management, intellectual property, IP disclosures, and education programs relating to IP. The Center for Intellectual Property is headed by the Director, Madeline A. Gabrieles, PTRP, MSPT, CMMT. Together with the Intellectual Property Committee of the DLS and HSI, they contribute to the realization of the mission and vision of the institution.
I hope I'm back. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Ma'am Heidi, we can hear you.
Yeah, great. Now we're ready to introduce our second speaker, which I'm sure is going to give us a very enlightening discussion also. She is a licensed physical therapist, a professor from Adamson University, and a certified patent agent. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in physical therapy from the University of the Philippines, Manila in 1992, Masters of Arts degrees in Special Education from UP Diliman in 2002, and Educational Psychology from UP Diliman in 2005. She's the head of the Intellectual Property Department Innovation and Technology Support Office in Adamson University. She acquired different certifications about intellectual property in the distance learning program of the World Intellectual Property Organization. My dear Lasallian friends, let's all welcome Associate Professor Ana May Ramos. Hello, Ma'am Ana.
Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Thank you for saying yes to our invitation.
Yeah, it's nice to be back to my original field.
There, that's Adam.
Yeah. So, ayan. Okay. So, thank you for the invitation. And I hope after the presentation of Sir Mike, I can give you
Take it
what we
away.
have experienced and what we have gone through. So, let me share my screen. So, can you see my screen now? Okay.
Yes, we can see, Miss Anne.
Okay, so when I got your invitation, the first thing that came into my mind was, what am I supposed to share with you? Um, I guess I have to take it from my own experience, since the answer was for me to give you a little background on what is IP in the medical and the health allied professions. So am originally a physical therapist, and then I became a psychologist, and then I am now intellectual property practitioner. Um, by being so, I was exposed to the field of engineering. So, of late, siguro mga past 5 years, they mistook me as an engineer. And when they found out that I am actually a physical therapist, I was practicing in the health professions, they were actually surprised by that because I have been assisting in making inventions for the university for the past 10 years as a engineer. I am a consultant of the engineering department. So can it be possible that our field will also enter that kind of practice? So as I have seen it, we will be into that field if we are only aware of what we do have right now. So after this, I do hope we would be able to understand intellectual property, how to identify our intellectual property, and to know the applications of IP in our respective fields. Now, as we have already learned, IP is the ownership is acquired by our occupation, and it is our intellectual creation. So anything that comes out of our mind and we put it into something that is tangible, that is already considered as an intellectual creation. However, an idea cannot be patented, cannot be copyrighted, cannot be protected. So anything that you have, an idea, a concept, even a memory of something, or what something that you've played with in the past, you have to concretize it. You have to make it something that is tangible for you to be able to claim your protection over that. Okay. Now, the intellect is a intellectual capital ideas and innovations have become the most important resource, replacing land, energy, and raw materials. So as of now, the trend is to how can we monetize our intellect? How can we monetize our research? So some of our research, especially in the medical field, is to do research because you want to help people. Um, it is very rare for me to have met people in the medical field who is willing to veer away from being a researcher to being an owner of a company, to being a startup company, because they would be much happier doing the research. So is it possible to merge that? Can you commercialize your research? Can you monetize it? That is actually the end result of research, is to be able to give it to society. And in so doing, you are actually monetizing what you originally thought of as just an idea. Now, as we said, IP is the creation of the human mind, and it is a cycle. You have your creation, your protection, and utilization. In the field of research, utilization would often be publication. So I hope we are veering away now from the publish or perish mindset, because we can still publish and also get our patent applications. So like in our practice in our university, that was one of the problems that we encountered. The faculty members don't like to disclose and file for a patent because they originally thought that they have to wait for the grant of the patent before they can go for publication. In actuality, all I need to do, all we need to do is just file for your patent. Once we have filed the patent, we will be given a date of application. Then you can go. You can go for your publication. We won't be stopping you. The only advantage that you would have is every time you present now and you already have a patent application, you have to write in your in your presentation, patent pending, and then you write the number of the application. Okay. Um, as the example of Sir Mike earlier on, is it the presentation also already claiming that I own this? Yes, that's true. But once you write patent pending and then you have the number, you are also telling the audience that I made this and it is already filed in IPOFIL. I am just waiting for the certificate or for the grant of this patent. So in essence, you are telling them, hands off. I am already claiming ownership for this for this presentation, for this product, for this process. So wherever you go right now, as long as you have the patent application, you always write patent pending and then you also have the number. So that's added credit for you when you are presenting something. Now, why do we encourage people for this one? Is one, as long as you have a patent portfolio, you have capital expenditure for new products. It's so much easier to get grants if you have that title of patent portfolio. If you can show proof that you have been doing the said project over a number of years or over a number of products. So it's basically giving your client or your venture capitalist what you have done in the past couple of years. So you are establishing your credibility. So this is also your research and development progress. You are also marketing and advertising your product as you do so. The most important of all is, of course, you avoid having freeloaders. Um, minsan masarap man libre, no? Pero pagka medyo malaki na yung nagagastos mo in your project, medyo mahirap minsan yung ibibigay mo na lang ng libre. Okay, so it would be nice that you get something in return. Another is, for example, if you see your products and then you know that it came from your university, and basically you're telling us that this is our standard, this is our quality. So you would be developing your loyal followers, your loyal supporters for your products. And then, of course, everybody would be going for this somehow is to get profit for whatever we have invested in earlier on. Now, IP would be the ideas, inventions, technologies, artwork, music, and literature that are intangible when first created, but become valuable in intangible form as products. So I saw your questions earlier. So one of my answers there is that all our research can be translated into an IP. For example, a thesis can be a invention patent or a utility model, or sometimes you have your trademark, or sometimes you have your industrial design. So we have in our university industrial design for a web page as designed by our students. So we have three of that as industrial design. With that patent application also, we have a concurrent utility model. So for one research, we have filed for 3 IPs. We had one UM, one ID, and one copyright filing. So we try not to limit our protection for our products in only one. Kasi before, our line of thinking was, sige research, patent mo lang yan. Pag hindi siya pasado for invention patent, parang it dies down. But if you look at it, it may even qualify for the other patents, which is your UM and your industrial design. Um, it can also be a basis for something that would be better in the near future. Okay. Now, you also have your RA 8293, which is for your copyright. So this would be your information, musical compositions, computer programs, software, and artistic and photographic and audiovisual creations. Every time I discuss this, I would always tell the story of in the 1990s, during that time, ang lecture, the manner of giving a lecture is yung overhead projector, yung de-acetate pa. So, I really cannot forget about that because uh, uso back then na after your lecture, your students would say, Ma'am, pwede pahiram ng acetate for photocopy. So we actually gave our students that acetate for photocopy. And one of my students was an entrepreneur in the making before we knew it. A couple of months after that school year, mga 2 or 3 months after that school year, one of the students said, "Ma'am, yung lecture ninyo is the same as the book that came out as a reviewer." Sabi ko, how can my lectures be the same as the reviewer when I was the original maker of the lecture? And then when he showed it to us, we noticed that all of our lectures were compiled by the student into a book, and then he went to a publishing company, gave it, and then said that he was an author for that. So, siya yung kumita, wala kaming kinita, even if everything was from our lecture. So, because of that, I am now very careful in what I give out because of the copyright. So, you both have, of course, your economic rights and your moral rights. It's okay for me to share my presentations, lalo na ngayon, it's digital naman. So, as long as you give me my moral rights, which is basically just state that it was derived from this work, I'm okay with that. I'm not really after the economics of copyright in terms of these kinds of lectures. Okay, so I'm just telling you now, be careful with what you're giving to your students because they might be earning from something that you should be earning in the long run. Okay, so my main question was, what are inventions? So an invention is a new product or process that solves a technical problem. So it may be a discovery of which something is already existed but has not been filed for or found. Okay. Now what do you mean by this? An invention is anything that is new. So if you want to create something, you look at the prior art and you try to combine A plus B plus C. If you found a technical solution, then you have a new component, which is the letter D. So the combination now is A plus B plus C plus D. Then you now have an invention. Okay? That can be patentable. That can be protected. However, a discovery, since it is already existing in nature, cannot be um, patented, but the application of the discovery can be patented. Okay? Now, what do we have now in your IP? So you have your trademark, your patents, your copyright, your trade secret, and your industrial design. Like with us, we started the ITSO office in Adams University around 10, 11 years ago. And then we had one inventor na kinailangan kong ligawan. I had to gain her trust. I had to gain her friendship. Through the years, she slowly opened up, and then she became our first spin-off company. But it took a number of years for her to trust us because yung usual reaction ng inventors, how sure am I na hindi mo siya i-share sa iba? So that's one thing that we have to assure our inventors that it's with us. Your secret is safe with us. We have a non-disclosure agreement. We would be protecting you. Now, in that product that we have now in the market, what do we have? We have our patents. We also have the copyright for that. A portion of the invention is still considered as trade secret. And then we also made a trademark. So in one product, we have almost everything. The trademarks, the patent, the copyright, and the trade secret. Now, at first, you may seem na masyado na atang costly if we would invest in everything. In the long run, no. Everything that you spent off would be given back by your earnings, by your protection. Because right now, because we have a patent, it gives more credibility for us. Our trademark is already known in the market. So we can assure you that the product that you're getting is actually an original one and that you're not getting a fake product from that because of our trademarks. So as I said, let us try to maximize our IP for all of the projects that we have. Now, these are examples of inventions in the medical field. So you may not have been aware of it, that the thermometer is actually an invention. And then the favorite, of all doctors is, of course, the stethoscope. So this was the first stethoscope that was invented by this person. And then you have, of course, the arsenic-based drug. Was the first penicillin, I think. We also have the invention of the injections and, of course, the penicillin. Okay, so all of this were invented in the medical field. So what can we do? I'm kind of biased in the example because I came from the field of physical therapy. So we're talking about prosthetics. So this is one example of a patent um, that was recently published. So this is a prosthetic leg. And then another one is this one. It's an electric single wheel bicycle for the autonomous transportation of wheelchair. So you might be thinking, engineers lang naman kasi yung pwedeng gumawa ng invention. The problem can come from us, from the medical field. And then you give it to the engineer, and then you work with the engineers to be able to build what you wanted. Now, for this one, what was the problem of the problem being solved by this one? Pagka naka-wheelchair, there's always this person behind the person na kailangan i-push siya. Okay? Not everybody knows how to manipulate the wheelchair on their own. Minsan hindi rin kaya ng patient. So to be able to solve that, this inventor attached this one-wheel contraption to the wheelchair para naging pang-movement ng self-directed ng patient. So even without a person pushing his wheelchair, he can be able to ambulate about. So what's nice about that is this one is detachable. Okay. Another example is with us, we have a patent. It's a voice activated wheelchair. When I was talking with the student, they asked us what I wanted as a project. So I was just kind of playing around with the idea of a wheelchair na so I wanted a wheelchair that would be following the patient whenever I am doing ambulation exercises. Because it's kind of hard to to teach ambulation exercises when you're in front of the patient and then the wheelchair is at the back. So, okay sana kung may magtutulak ng wheelchair eh. At the end of the parallel bars, pag pagod si patient, kailangan may magpasok ng chair. So, what we did was this wheelchair follows you. Okay? And then another variation for that was the voice-activated wheelchair. Pag napagod na si patient using the walker, voice-activated, it will now transform into a chair. So we were granted a patent for that. So parang parang sa atin parang it's something that we encounter every day, but we can do something about that in our technology. So there's really no crazy idea in the field of medicine. So you can develop a solution for that. It's out there. All we have to do is look for it. Okay. So another example would of course be this one. Of course, you all know that a camera is an invention, and the formulation of Tamiflu is also an invention. It can be as hard as the first two examples, or it can be as simple as the zipper. So the zipper is also considered as an invention. Now, for a utility model, so what's the difference between that and an invention and a utility model? An invention would have a technical effect. It will have a technical solution to a certain problem. But a utility model, it's something new, something different, and it has application. So if you would look at the first example, parang ano kaya yung problem ng person sitting like this? The problem was actually when you try to sleep, nahuhulog ka, you doze off, yung head mo. So left or right or forward. To be able to solve that, ginawa niya tong contraption na to. So you can rest without the danger of having your head moving from side to side. Okay, so that's a utility model that was granted protection. And then the second one is another example of a utility model with the problem of noodles that are very hot to eat. So if you really don't have time to, cool it down, just attach an electric fan to your chopsticks and you would be able to eat your noodles. Another is for this one, the invention is basically the one at the end of the heel of our example here. So every time you try to walk on grass and you're wearing heels, the main problem that you would be encountering is that you would be digging in. So lulubog ka lang sa lupa. So the solution for that came from the field of technology of golf to need a stopper doon sa heels para even if I step down on it, I won't be sinking into the soil. So these are examples of utility model. Now, what is now the solution for these problems? Any invention should be simple. Any idea should be simple. For my students, for the engineering students, I always tell them, wag kang masyadong toxic, wag masyadong overload ng mga sensors, ng technology, because if you keep on doing that, you would not be inventing something, you would be hitting others. Therefore, you are destroying your own novelty. So if you want a solution to something, it has to be very, very simple. Okay, so simplicity is the key to an invention. Now, what are our IPs? As we have been discussing, you have, of course, your invention, your utility model, your industrial design, and of course, your trademark. So try to maximize all of this in your research, in your studies. Even if you're just starting, you don't really don't know. In the end, you might be a startup. So you would now be using your own trademark and your own or your own invention. Now, these are the things. This is a very brief summary of what you have. So for patents, you have your new inventions. So it's application and examination. For a patent agent, it is our job to identify which type of IP you may have in your own study. So try not to stop your own thinking by saying, wala namang bago dito. Because the point of view of the inventor is very much different from the point of view of the patent agent. You may not be able to identify your own novelty or the problem that your project solve, but your patent agent might be the one to identify that for you. So let's be open when talking to your patent agent. You may have the technology, it's just a matter of how we present it to make it an invention. Okay, so another is your copyright, so original, creative, or artistic forms. So that would exist automatically. So right now we have the digital practice. I do hope every time you upload your modules in your classrooms right now, you do place your copyright signature. So it exists automatically. You don't really need a certificate for that. But we do encourage you to write the letter C, yung nakabilog na letter C, the year, and then your last name to be able to assert your copyright for the said material. Um, I don't know with your IP policy, but we do encourage that just for the protection of both the university and the professors. And then of course we have trademark. So I'm I am aware that the LaSalle logo is under trademark. So you may want to have your own, if you have your own logo in your campus, you may want to have that also placed under trademark protection. Then you also have your registered designs. This may be your um, page in the your website page. This can be your furnitures, this can be your chairs or something like that. Okay. And then of course you have your trade secrets. But probably this is the only protection where you should not disclose anything to other people. As long as you keep that and then you follow the trade secret protocol, your secret would be safe. But then there is always a danger for trade secrets. So anybody can reverse engineer that and then discover it. Okay. Now, as we said, patents would include novelty, your inventive step, and your industrial applicability. So we need your disclosure to be able to be granted the exclusivity of your patent. Now, when you do reveal or when you do disclose to your patent agent, trust your patent agent. Um, your disclosure will be protected and it will stay with your IP office. Um, the more you give details, the better is your patent draft. The better your patent draft, the greater chance that you will be granted a patent. Okay, so as we said, you prevent others from from using it, making your product or importing it. You also prevent others from selling it without your. You can either have your licensing contracts with them, or you can have your distributors and the like. So you have protection for the next 20 years. Now, for example, with this one, should the should an invention be very hard? So my invention is this one. So it's a butter stick type. So the original problem was I wanted to have butter on my bread every time I go out, even if I travel, lalo na sa traffic ngayon. So I invented this type of butter application. So prior art gave me this one and then another one. So prior art one, it was basically both of them are actually giving off butter. But this one would be the rolling type for the corn on the cob, and then you have a concave surface. And then the other one would have application of butter toast, wherein the butter is actually cut into small slices. Now, what is the inventive part of the invention, or what is different, or the novelty part of the invention, is that the application that I have is the roller type or the type, which actually came from the field of office supplies or from the field of adhesives or the use of glue. So it's not logical that you combine glue and then food, but then it was made in this application. So every time I would like to spread butter on my bread, I just roll it up, and then when I'm done, just roll it down. Okay, so this was given a patent. However, it was only considered as novel, and it was not considered as inventive. Okay, so an inventive step is it is not used. So I have always asked inventors, what is different in your invention? All inventors would say, wala pang nakakaimbento nito. Wala pang nakakagawa ng ganito. Ako pa lang ang gumawa nito. But when we do go to the inventive step, dito tayo nagkakatalo, dito tayo natatalo ng assessment namin. So, it is not obvious to a person skilled in the art. So, to a person who is an expert in the field. Now, an example would be this one. So, you have teapots. And then I have the last example as my invention. So the first one, si Mrs. Potts, is basically the standard pot. So one spout, one handle, one topping or one top. For the second, as compared to my own invention, both of them have two spouts. However, this is bilateral and then the other one is contralateral. So why is my invention different from the second invention? In manner of serving it. For the second invention, you hold the handle and you tilt it forward. For the third invention, which is my invention, I hold the handle and then tilt it sidewards. Okay? Now, From the onset, it may look to be the same, okay? But what would be inventive in that is if you look at the inside of the spot, and then you will see two compartments. So that would make this one novel because first invention and second invention only has one compartment. I already have two compartments. So one compartment can be milk and then another compartment can be tea. Or one compartment can be coffee and another compartment can be tea, which is not possible in the first and the second application. So if you would consider that, then you now have an inventive step. So this would qualify now for a patent application. Now, the last aspect is industrial applicability. So an invention that can be produced and used in a large number is considered to be industrially applicable. Now, which among these examples are utility models or inventions? So, for example, in the field of medicine and in the field of nursing, you have the perennial cold pack. Is this an invention or a utility model? You can write your answers in the chat box. For the perennial cold pack, will you consider this as an invention or a utility model? Right? Shy sila sumagot. Okay? So, for this one, for the perennial cold pack, this is used for, correct? Partner. This is used for OB cases, post birth. So this was given for people who just gave birth because post episiotomy, of course, they would have a wound there, and then it would be painful. So to be able to place a cold pack, uh, ice, it would be difficult. But then they also have the problem of blood. So pinag-combine na nila yung napkin na nagiging cold, may cold pack. So once liquid hits it, it activates the coldness. So you have absorbent and then you also have the coldness. For the second one, which is the baby. So is this an invention or a utility model? Okay, so sa Philippines, sinasabi natin na, oy, buti yan, naglalakad na yung anak mo, meron ka ng katulong sa paglilinis. Okay? Actually, this was originally an invention. So, it was given an invention it was granted a patent in Japan because it was originally designed in Japan. So, the one below, the walker and the chair, are the steps. So, nung time ko, wala pang ganito. So, I don't know if we have that already in our practice. Yes, that is considered as an invention because you can actually adjust the length of the legs, hindi sila pantay. Okay, so hindi sila pantay. So, you can, and then when you get down, nagpapantay ulit yung legs niya. So, this was provided as an invention. Okay. The next one is the selfie stick. So is this an invention or invention or utility model? Selfie stick. Marami na tayong ganyan ngayon, di ba? So is a selfie stick an invention or a model, UM? Yes, it was originally an invention. Okay? And then my favorite is this one. Is this an invention or UM? This was in Japan also. And then when I looked it up, the problem solved was boredom in the bathroom. So My question is, why would you be bored in the bathroom? This was again an invention. Uh, of course, you don't flush out the fish every time you use it. There's a compartment for the aquarium and then another compartment for the water for flushing the toilet. But the problem solved was to provide amusement while inside the bathroom. Okay. And then my favorite is this one. Is this invention or UM? Yes, this was now a UM. Now, what was the problem being solved here was the placement of medicines in the eyes is difficult because you tend to close your eyes. So, hindi nagsushoot yung medicine papunta sa mata. So, this was invented in China. So, this is now a utility model. Okay. Okay. So, my next is for functional designs. So, what we have here. So, for functional designs, you can be protecting your new forms, the shapes, the patterns, and the configurations of your furniture. So, you have here the different examples. So, it can be furniture. It can also be the design of a bottle. So, recently, si Kobonpe was given a license to do the Star Wars series for his design of his furnitures. Then, as we have said earlier, you have your trademarks. Okay, now what was here, example for this one, was Good Shepherd. So, if you are uh, a regular supporter of Good Shepherd, when I researched this, this was the original trademark of Good Shepherd. And then it was abandoned, so they changed it to the new one, and then this is now the updated version. So if you don't have a logo of Good Shepherd na ganito, then most likely that is not the original product. Okay. Also, when you look at your trademarks, you like for Mang Inasal, you have here the letter R, and in some you would have the letter TM. Now, what is the difference for that? For the letter R, it basically means that you have now a protection of your logo waiting for a grant from IPOFIL. If the small letters now become TM, that means your logo is also already registered and granted protection by IPOFIL. Okay, confidential information would include the following. So your business plans, your recipes, your formulas, and manufacturing processes. So to give you an example, I have a client wherein the patent that I applied for was for the manufacturing or the production of tocino. So it was a composition patent. So you'd be surprised na recipes, nakagawa ako ng patent applications for that and it was granted. I even had an application for vegetable cookies. Pag kinain mo yung cookies, hindi mo malalaman na vegetables yung laman niya. It was granted utility model by IPOFIL. So, as I was saying, hindi dapat high-tech yung mga fina-file natin, yung mga inventions natin. It has to be very simple. And from that, you develop it further to eventually become an invention. Okay? So, I think we would be open for questions, reactions, and suggestions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mamana. Thank you very much. That was a very informative presentation and quite fun also, ha. Sayang wala na akong very young kids na pwede kong gawing mop ng floor.
Sayang, ano? Okay.
Okay. Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, Ma'am Heidi. We
Oo.
can hear you.
Hindi ko naisip yan, ah. But there you go. There really are a lot. Yeah, there really are a lot of opportunities, particularly in the health and medical field, for innovations and technology upgrades, no? So if you have questions, just please send it to Arnie, or you can send it to our chat box so that we can relay it to Ma'am Ana. Okay, here it is. First question, ma'am. How can each college contribute to IP? For example, in HSI, we have pharmacy, we have medicine, nursing, medical laboratory science, of course, rehabilitation sciences, which includes physical therapy, and we also have medical imaging technology. So these are X-rays, CT scans, and of course, did I mention pharmacy already? Yeah, and medical laboratory science. I think there are a lot, Ma'am Ana, right?
Yes, ma'am. With our university, we have from College of Pharmacy, we actually have a startup company with them right now, and I have 3 products from them to be put out in the market soon. So how do we encourage the different departments? Matagal na ligawan, ma'am. We went to the different departments. I talked to the faculty members. I talked to the chairman and to the dean of the college, and then presented to them what we were doing. Now, for them to appreciate it, we also asked them to join an event or two to be able to experience what we are experiencing and what we wanted them to go for. So, for example, a patent search, all of our deans and chairperson know how to do patent search. So, when they tell the faculty members, yung mga nagre-research, ay mag-search kayo, alam nila kung ano yung pinapagawa nila. So we started from training them and then making them understand that this is what we want. And then when we had events for the startup companies, dinala din namin sila doon. So we also brought them to these events, to the pitching events, to be able to expose them to the different products in the market. And then we also talked with them and asked them, do you have industry partners? So kasi kanina yung sinabi nga nila na iba yung ginagawa ng academe, kasi masyadong high-tech minsan yung naiisip ng academe. Pagdating sa industry, sasabihin nila, ito lang naman yung gusto namin, hindi ganyang ka-toxic. So we also talked with the deans and the chairperson na sino yung partners ninyo? Can we talk with them? And then we also ask them, okay, this is our product. So kunwari medicine dispensing. Sabi ng industry, ang mahal ng gusto nyong manyari. Pero sa atin kasi technology yun eh. And then we asked them, ano bang gusto ninyong technology? So, nabago yung design namin in answer to their need. So, medyo doon kami nagkaroon ngayon ng networking between the admin and the industry and the faculty members. Kaya halos lahat ng departments namin, ma'am, gumagalaw ngayon. And then nadadamay din yung iba, yung kunwari, we need marketing plan, doon na yun sa BA namin.
Thank you, Ma'am Ana. Yeah, that's right. No, that's something that we always have to keep in mind. That there should always be a practicality behind the inventions and the innovations. They should be um ang tawag natin yun parang usable, no? Like in
Mm.
Apple, like for Apple, essentially si Steve Jobs looked at how the product can improve experience of the user, and that's one of the reasons why they are very successful in introducing innovations and technology upgrades in their product, because they always have the pulse of the users. So in our case, it's the industry naman, no? So we have to have a very good link with the industry. Okay, another question, ma'am, is I think partly this was answered kanina when you talked about how the deans should also learn how to do patent searching and should link with the industry because some of our members of the audience are asking how the administrators can help in disseminating information about intellectual property and the implications of administrators and faculty who are engaged in intellectual property. So another question would be, how can the health institution adapt to the changing world, such as an increasing number of innovative works and also competing with other universities in terms of intellectual property?
Mm. What we do, ma'am, is kasi like I'm from the medical field. So when the engineers do their biomedical um, paper or projects, I would be with them literally during their um, topic presentation, title presentation, defense nung paper nila. Nandun ako, kasama ako sa kanila. When they do their patent search, kasama din ako doon. Kasi all of our students na enrolled in research are taught to do the patent search. So their review of literature includes patent and non-patent literature. And then for some, like I sit down sa thesis defense ng engineering, ECE, CPE, and computer engineering. I sit down with them and also with our IT. So parang we try to connect all of our what we have, yung kunwari yung patent literature natin, yung techniques, yung mga makukuha natin doon. So before they start their project, andun na, may kasama na. So since you are in the medical field, ang engineering ninyo ata ay nasa ibang area. I would suggest you team up with them kasi the point of view, this is just my experience, the point of view of an engineer is so much different from the point of view of those in the medical field. Mali tuloy yung nagiging problem na sinosolve nila because of the wrong perception. So doon tayo papasok. What is your experience? What is your problem? You tell it to them, and then they would tell you, this is the way to solve it. And then you work with them. So, pareho kayo, magko-collaborative study na kayo. So, if you will look at our research papers, iba-ibang field yan. May pharma at saka engineer magkasama. Engineer magkasama. So, ganun yung nangyayari sa amin. So, in terms of patent application naman in the long run, like sinabi ni Sir Mike kanina, the applicant is the university. Lalo na kung funded siya. And then the inventors would still be the faculty and the students or whoever contributed in that study, andun pa rin yung pangalan nila. Now, one advantage is pagka yung applicant, yung university, in terms of payment, medyo kaya naman ng university, pero medyo mahal. Pagka kasi nilagay naman sa pangalan ng student, ng applicant sila, pwede din naman, mas mura yon. But then, if you want to commercialize it in the long run, yung student, kailangan pang i-assign yung patent na yon sa university. So, may additional gastos pa din siya. So, just to make bawas the steps of going through that, mas maganda na yung sa una pa lang, applicant na si university. But that should be in the IP policy.
Thank you. Thank you, Ma'am Anna. Incidentally, the next question is this. What happens to the engineer who helped the inventor come up with the product?
We become partners. So, like in one of the presentations, engineer muna yung nagsalita. But then when somebody asked about the medical field, ako na yung sumasagot doon. Actually, just to give an idea to the field, I have 3 pending patents already. because of the field of rehabilitation. So we have something for balance, monitoring balance of elderly. We also have one for monitoring Alzheimer's people, yung mga nawawala. So all of this are because of the collab between me and the engineering department.
Okay. In relation to that, Ma'am Ana, the next question is this. There's an impression that IP in health is lower compared to engineering. Is that an accurate assessment? What can you say about it?
No, we also have a lot of inventions in our field. The only reason that we have that it's in the engineering is because the engineers are the ones doing it for us. Sa atin yung problema eh. Pero sila yung nagsosolve sa atin. So, ayun yung gusto kong na you don't give it just to the engineer. You also have to give our part because we are the ones experiencing it. We are the ones seeing the problem. So, you work with them. So, uh, Mike said, can they be co-inventors? Yes. You and the engineer can be co-inventors in whatever you would be applying for.
That's right, no, Ma'am Ana, because in when the engineers work on the inventions, the foundation of their inventions is the knowledge of the healthcare worker, the healthcare
Yes.
professional, right? So
Yes.
talagang it's teamwork, in other words. So
Yes.
the last question I see here in the chat box, I think this is more for our Center for Intellectual Property. The suggestion is to educate student or faculty researchers already, uh, as early identification of their topic about the possibility of intellectual property for their own researches. And yeah, I think this is very valid, right, Ma'am Mads?
Yes, Ma'am Heidi. I think that's a good suggestion po. As early
Yeah,
as
and I think
ano pa lang, parang
and we have
formulation
considered
ng
that.
idea.
Yeah, we have considered that, right? When we were discussing, we were formulating the guidelines and the procedures for IB.
Yes. And then actually, Ma'am Heidi, we also had a webinar exclusively for the students. Kaya yung approach natin, pang students din, in a way, ma-engganyo sila.
Very good, very good. This is a very good step up, really, talaga, for the institution. So, are there any more questions? Do you have more questions that while we still have Mom Anna, or maybe our time is up, Mom Mads? So, I guess I think it's time now for us to thank our speakers. Um, we'd like to call back Sir Michael George Peralta for our certificates. Ma'am Mads, are we ready with the certificates for our speakers?
Can you now flash the certificate, Ma'am Arnie?
We're so lucky, no, or so privileged to have these two wonderful and knowledgeable speakers on intellectual property. Ang dami nating natutunan. So thank you really so much for both of you.
Thank you rin, ma'am. Nandiyan lang naman kami sa tabi-tabi.
And of course, talagang hindi lang sila experts in IP, they also have health backgrounds. So really perfect for our context here at De La Salle Medical and Health Sciences Institute. So yeah, expect that, ma'am, that in the near future we will be consulting you regularly on our IP issues here at HSI. So, Ma'am Mads, are we ready with the certificates?
Yes, ma'am. It's already here. Will I be the one to read it or you want to read it?
Yes, please, Ma'am Mads. For some reason, I can't see the
Okay,
presentations.
no problem. All right, so the La Salle Medical and Health Sciences Institute awards the certificate of appreciation to Michael George and Peralta for having for being our guest speaker in the webinar titled CIP Series 2, The Role of Higher Education Institution in Intellectual Property. Signed, Madeline Gabrieles, Director of Center for Intellectual Property. Signed by Antonio B. Ramos, Chancellor, DLSM HSI. Congratulations, Sir Mike, and thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much. Thank you, Ma'am Heidi.
All right. Let me read the next certificate. So again, De La Salle Medical and Health Sciences Institute awards the Certificate of Appreciation to Ms. Ana May Ramos for being our guest speaker in the webinar titled CIP Series 2, The Role of Higher Education Institution in Intellectual Property, signed Madeline Gabrieles, and signed Antonio V. Ramos. Thank you very much, Ana May Ramos.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ma'am Mads, and thank you also to our two speakers. And I think this time we're about to close our webinar, our program. So I'd like to call in the very masipag and always present and always active director of the DLS MHSI Center for Intellectual Property, um, Ma'am Madeline Gabrieles.
Thank you, Ma'am Heidi. All right, so can you play the video now? Before we officially close this webinar, I would like to thank our esteemed speakers for accepting our invitation to the CIP Series 2 and our Chancellor for gracing our event. And of course, this webinar will not be successful without the Center for Intellectual Properties administrative staff, Arnilin Pantig, the assistance of the Center for Innovative Education and Technology Integration, Sir Joshiko, and also Ma'am Heidi C. for moderating our webinar for today. Thank you for all your time and effort. And lastly, I would like to thank the participants for showing interest and giving time to this webinar. Thank you for making this webinar successful. Whenever we organize activities like this, it is always the participants that we think about and also the Lasallian community. So once again, thank you very much. The Center for Intellectual Property was established just last year, June 2020. So it is still in its early stage, building up its internal workforce, promoting intellectual property awareness, setting up intellectual property policy, and encouraging creativity and innovation among the different departments and offices. We hope that we were able to shed light on the role of higher education institution in intellectual property through the CIP series. We also hope that we were able to create a ripple effect that can be manifested in each department or college through the deans, directors, faculty, and students. I would also like to take this opportunity to promote the upcoming webinar that we intend to organize this coming April, which is in line with Innovation and Intellectual Property Day. We will be posting more information about this in our announcements. I hope you could also support DLSM HSI Center for Intellectual Property's future activities and objectives by spreading intellectual property awareness. Let me leave everyone with this quote by Theodore Levitt. Creativity is thinking up new things. Innovation is doing new things. I hope each of us aims to come up or create something that is greater than ourselves and see innovation and intellectual property as an opportunity for growth, not just for ourselves, departments, colleges, but also to the society as a whole. Once again, thank you very much. Okay, just a few reminders. There. So we will be giving now the link for you to answer. Then after answering the link, we will be sending to you the certificate of attendance and or participation for this webinar.
Thank you, Ma'am Mads.
Thank you,
Thank
Ma'am
you, everyone.
Heidi.
Please fill out the evaluation link. Yes, so that you can get your certificates. Thank you all so much, especially for those who sent in their questions. They really enlivened our discussion and enlightened a lot among us who also have the same question. So thank you all so much for your participation. I think, Ma'am Mads, we're now ready to close this webinar. And we're going to do so by all together singing our Lasallian hymn. Are we ready with our alma mater hymn?
Okay, kindly play the video now.
A shield of freedom, we'll fight to keep your glory bright, and never shall we fail. Hail to thee, our alma mater, hail, hail, hail. Hail, hail, alma mater, hail to De La Salle. We'll hold your banner high and bright, the shield of green and white. We'll fight to keep your glory bright, and never shall we fail. Hail to thee, our alma mater, hail, hail, hail. Hail to thee, our alma mater, hail, hail, hail.
All right. Thank you all so much. Thank you for attending. I hope you guys can hear me. And I just would like to also encourage, pa-plug ako, Ma'am Mads. We sent out a survey. We sent out a survey on vaccine appreciation to all members of the DLSM HSI community. To those who have not yet uh, checked out the survey, we sent it out to your DLS HSI emails, and you need that email for you to be able to access the link. So thank you to those who have already participated. It's going to help us a lot in our vaccination program. So I hope you'll have time to respond to it. So thank you all so much. Have a great weekend, everybody, and please keep safe always. Thank you. God bless all of you.